Donald Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, isn't working out all that well. And it started right at the beginning. Right after he was sworn in, there was the midair collision of a passenger jet and an Army helicopter in Washington, D.C., despite the strict and solemn rules of the Defense Department that say no information about deceased service members can be made public.
Nobody's texting war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
The texts were sent by the defense secretary 2 hours before the airstrikes began. At 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time, Hegseth posted, "Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch." Then he went on to outline the operation's future timeline. 12:15 Eastern, F-18s launch, first strike package. 14:15, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. 15:36, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched. Congressman Krishnamurti quoted from the DoD manual on classified information.
Information shall be classified if its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause describable damage to national security. This includes military plans, weapon systems, or operations.
That's also an accurate quote.
What was shared in the Signal Group chat goes beyond war plans because they included the timing of the operations. The Republican head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Roger Wicker, has called for an investigation and further hearings. Quote, "The information as published recently appears to me to be of such a sensitive nature that, based on my knowledge, I would have..."
Donald Trump is running the dumbest and most dangerous administration in history. I know it, you know it, and it's gotten so bad that even the Fox propaganda outlet knows it now. Over the past couple of days since this story has broken, we have seen Fox struggle to defend Trump, to defend Hegseth, High Gabbard Mike Waltz, but now we see Fox hosts just flipping on, them publicly calling out what a disaster this has been in ripping Donald Trump to shreds for lying all about it. And we are going to get into that, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into the several Fox hosts who called out Donald Trump and Pete Heth, I want to start with the real context that we need, and that's from Rachel Maddow right here.
Donald Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, isn't working out all that well. And it started right at the beginning. Right after he was sworn in, there was the midair collision of a passenger jet and an Army helicopter in Washington, D.C., despite the strict and solemn rules of the Defense Department that say no information about deceased service members can be made public until 24 hours after the next of kin has been informed. Pete Hegseth, nevertheless, blurted out to the public the ranks of the 3 helicopter crew members who had just been killed in the crash. Hegseth also blurted out that the crew members had been performing a training flight on a, quote, continuity of government mission. Mr. Hegseth, quote, was later told that he should not have publicly disclosed that it was a continuity of government mission, which involves U.S. officials and military forces practicing how the government would react in the event of an emergency. Just a couple of weeks later, Mr. Hegseth took his first big international trip as defense secretary, went to a big NATO meeting in Europe, and he began the trip by just totally flummoxing not only our allies, but also a lot of Washington, when he again just blurted out that any peace deal in the Russia-Ukraine war would have to include Ukraine giving up lots of its territory and abandoning its bid to join NATO. That caused major blowback for obvious reasons. He was just giving away Ukraine's major bargaining chips even before negotiations had started. When that blowback made its way to him, Pete Hegseth sort of angrily asserted that he had basically been the victim of his own comments.
As it pertains to NATO membership not being realistic outcome for negotiations, that's something that was stated as part of my remarks here, as part of the coordination with how we're executing these ongoing negotiations.
That's something that was stated as part of my remarks here. I don't know who stated it, but it was part of my remarks. I did not state it. It was something that was stated by something inside my mouth in my remarks time. very offensive to me as well. Now we're all living through Pete Hegseth's latest and greatest.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The NSC said it was authentic.
Nobody's texting war plans. I know exactly what I'm doing, exactly what we're directing, and I'm really proud of what we accomplished. Nobody's texting war plans. You know who sees war plans? I see them every single day. I looked at them this morning.
Nobody's texting war plans. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what war plans look like. War plans, I see them all the time. I eat war plans for breakfast.
This is the line that we're seeing out of the administration, that these weren't war plans, these were attack plans like the tiny bit of change. In the language matters all that much. When either way, whatever you want to. Call them, and they were war plans by the way would have put the lives of every man and woman conducting that operation in danger. That's what's at the heart of this. Not only does it put our national security in danger by having this information, and not only this information, other Signal chats on unsecure servers, especially with Tulsi Gabbard TR traveling abroad. Steve Witkoff was in Russia at the time. I don't know if his phone was connected to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but if it was Kremlin, sure, got a lot of our military information. I don't think. That's great, but they're putting soldiers' lives at risk and destabilizing the trust that needs to exist on our military, and that is why we saw Fox in a clip we're going to check out and a tweet from one of their hosts. Rip Pete Hegg to shreds for this lie.
Pounding Houthi targets in Yemen, despite all of this Signal scandal. At the heart of the administration's defense, what constitutes war plans and classified information, as you saw some of the back and forth on Capitol Hill. Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin takes a look tonight from the Pentagon.
It's by the awesome grace of God that we are not mourning dead pilots right now.
More fallout from the national security text chain set up on Signal to discuss details of future operations to target the Houthis in Yemen. Defense Secretary Hegseth, who was visiting troops in Hawaii, spoke before departing for Guam.
Nobody's texting war plans. There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
The texts were sent by the Defense Secretary 2 hours before the airstrikes began. At 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time, Hegseth posted, "Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch." Then he went on to outline the operation's future timeline. 12:15 Eastern, F-18's launch, first strike package. 14:15, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. 15:36, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched. Congressman Krishnamurti quoted from the DoD manual on classified information.
Information shall be classified if its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause describable damage to national security. This includes military plans, weapon systems, or operations.
That's also an accurate quote.
What was shared in the Signal group chat goes beyond war plans because they included the timing of the operations. The Republican head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Roger Wicker, has called for an investigation and further hearings. Quote, "The information as published recently appears to me to be of such a sensitive nature that, based on my knowledge, I would have wanted it classified." Brett?
These were absolutely and unequivocally war plans. Tim Miller made the best point. I have heard so far on all of this. Yesterday on the Bulwark K podcast, imagine if this had been a black woman, or someone Pete Hegg would call AA. Day higher, who had leaked these plans to the Atlantic. What would be happening, right? Now, what would be the coverage in the mainstream media, not even the right wing? Media in the mainstream media, what would we see P. Eggett saying this person would be in jail already, this person would be getting a military tribunal, this would be a complete meltdown, the investigation would never end, but Pete Heth doesn't, and it's the left is attacking us with their flawed descriptions of what happened is why we see also Tommy Lurin. Another Fox host call him out, trying to wordsmith the hell out of this signal? Tobacco is making it worse. It was bad. And I'm honestly getting sick of the whataboutism from my own D-side. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Admit the F up and move on. Think Tomi Lahren is spot on there, which is a surprising thing for me to be saying. The only part I kind of quibble with is move on. I don't think we should move on. I'd like to see Pete Heth fired, like to see Tulsi. Gabry fired, Mick Waltz fired, Steve. Wickoff fired, hell, throw Rubio in there. Bounce them all. JD was on the chat, get them out of there. These are people who cannot handle our most classified information, and of course they are under the direction of a president who is storing classified documents in his bathroom. Are we shocked here that this is the outcome? But it just seems more so than just the fact that they're trying to lie their way out of it, that they don't recognize the gravity of the situation and in what they've done, which more than anything should show you how unqualified, unequipped, and incompetent these people they just don't seem to care. It does not register with them, the grave danger that they have put us in, but it does for a lot of Democrats who are calling them out specifically. One wisdom service himself, that's Senator Mark Kelly right here.
Isn't it a problem that practically the entire Trump national security team was debating this on an unsecured messaging app?
It's a huge problem, and it's reckless. I think there was some carelessness that set up the whole situation where this happened in the first place, creating this signal chain, inviting a journalist. But when you start putting operational details, which in the DoD ecosystem is the most sensitive information we have. When you're about to send, in this case, pilots, feet dry over the beach into enemy territory where there is a significant surface-to-air missile threat, this is the kind of information that if it gets out, gets people killed. It is disrespectful to our service members, it's dangerous, and there should be accountability because of it.
Senator, you were told that this is not the only signal chat. There were other signal chains involving Trump officials. What do we know about those chains?
Well, I don't have any details about that. I asked if this occurs in other instances, whether they use Signal for other things. I suspected they did. But the big question is what is shared on those separate text message exchanges, essentially, is what it is. And Signal is more secure than a regular text message. But we also know that the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, they try to access our devices. They can crack that encryption. And if you're the vice president or the Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, Secretary of Defense, you've got to know that they're trying to get into your device in these applications, these commercial applications. And because of that, you just don't share this information. If these individuals that did this as part of the president's national security team, if they were like mid-level or even senior officers in the military, admirals, generals, they would be fired for this. This is clearly against the rules. It's against the law. It should never have happened.
I guess you've called for Pete Hegseth to resign. Should Mike Waltz resign as well?
I think Mike made a careless mistake here. If you go back and you look at what was shared on Signal in this text chain, it wasn't him that was sharing what I view as classified information. But even beyond classified, this is the most sensitive information that the Department of Defense has.
We need some criminal accountability. This is law-breaking that has happened, and they can again, like somehow I'm quoting, Tomi Lahren said wordsmith their way out of it, but language is not going to save you when you broke the law plain and simple, and we have to continue to call it out, make a point of it. It's what we're going to be talking about every single day here, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I'll see you soon.